Good evening and welcome to Slow It Down Sunday. This is Arlene Connelly-Drummond, and I am so happy that you have taken a moment out of your busy schedule to pause, to recalibrate, to join us in this space that has been curated just for us, an opportunity for us to slow it down, to pause, to refresh, to replenish, to revive, to restore ourselves, to recalibrate, and reposition ourselves for the week ahead. I am so pleased that we are here together in this space. And so thank you for joining me in this episode of Slow It Down Sunday. And today, I am taking time out for a series of conversations where I'm speaking particularly to parents and caregivers. While this message and this conversation can translate to any of us, I'm particularly focusing on those who are parents and caregivers. You are in the process of positioning and planning and preparing your children to go back to school. And so during this back to school season, we're going to spend some time talking about how we can change the pace of our movement. Because how many of you can reflect? I know it's like yesterday for me, that I can remember what it was like preparing my daughter for back to school. And preparation for back to school can be so stressful, can be challenging, and just getting back into the routine of back to school after the summer can be a little bit tedious and can be somewhat taxing. But I am here to invite you that we have an opportunity to change the pace of our movement. And part of that comes with how we change our attitude, change our mindset, adjust our thinking of how we are viewing this season and time called back to school. You know, one of the things I often say to my daughter, I said, the attitude in which we approach a thing impacts the experience. And so much of how we show up in this season and this time is impacted by our attitude, our approach. And so I'm inviting you to consider how we can reframe how we think about this back to school season and how critical it is that we as the adults who are in charge of creating safe spaces for our children to learn, grow, and thrive, how we can ensure that how we show up, how we operate, how we demonstrate to our children our ability to plan, prepare, position, have the right spirit and energy, and how we can create routines that are not so rigid but allow us to have the fluidity and the grace that comes with us just doing everything called living and doing life well. So would you join me in this conversation? Because I know when it was my time and preparing my daughter, wow, did I wish I had some of these little nuggets that could have helped me give her a different experience when it came for going back to school. So let's dive in. So one of the first things that I wanted to share with you is the possibility and the opportunity for us to really think about our role as parents and really looking at what really matters. And so you've heard this before, that our children, they look at more what we do than what we say. And so while our words have power, our actions is even a greater demonstration of who we are and how we show up, our values, our standards, and our beliefs. And so when we think about and we are moving in this space called preparing our kids for back to school, the way we approach it says a lot. And so could you imagine with me if we spent more time preparing than we spend time stressing? Many of us, when it comes to changes and projects and things that have to get done, we take on a stressful posture. But can you imagine if for a little bit you changed that approach and you said, I know that back to school season is here and back to school season is coming, and there are things that I can do, there are routines that I can establish, there are tasks that are on my list that I can pace myself so that I do not feel so stressed in executing and preparing my children for back to school. So can you consider and just test out this theory that the more we prepare, the better our mornings can be, the less rushed we may feel, and the less stress we may have. So I can tell you that when I was growing up, I used to hate the weekends. Saturdays and Sundays, we would spend time preparing. And I remember resenting that, because why couldn't I go out and play and just chill? We had to prepare our uniforms, make sure everything was ready, polish our shoes, get our bags set, make sure our homework was done. There was a routine of tasks that we had to complete. And I didn't like it because I wanted to do other things. Can I tell you, in hindsight, as I look back and I look forward in my adult role, I am so thankful for those opportunities that showed me the power of preparation. There's a power in preparation because it allows me to ensure that I am equipped, that I am ready, that I have the tools, that I have the resources necessary for me to execute whatever the tasks that are at hand. And so let's just go into a minor preparation mode as we think about getting our kids ready for school, right? There are certain things that we know are needed, right? So there are our books and school supplies, right? The backpack, the lunchbox, right? The uniforms, or whatever the school attire is, right? Getting the hair ready, right? Making sure that there is clarity in their room, making sure that there's a clear workspace, making sure that their closets are organized, making sure that we remove some of the clutter that may be in the spaces that they occupy in their room, that there's cleanliness and order, right? That we have done the grocery shopping and we know what is the items for lunch, what are the snacks, we know what is available and ready for breakfast, right? And we have done some things like map out our route, especially if school has changed, right? Or school schedules have changed. We have mapped out. We know our pathway. We've driven the course. We know what it takes to get there. We even thought about the timing that it takes to get the kids through the bus loop so that they could be on time. There's all these things that we can be ahead of the game. We can prepare for so that the morning rush, right, which can erode the energy and the spirit in your children and yourself, causing you to have tension and anxiety, can be avoided. So I am calling on each of you, our parents and caregivers, to really look at how you can revisit your preparation so that your morning routine, your daily experience for both yourself and your children can be different, that you can infuse peace and joy and laughter. You can have moments of affirmation and prayer and the peace that I so believe is important, that would help your children step into the school day with a different attitude, with a different posture. Why? Because my parents created the safe space where I felt I didn't feel stressed, I didn't feel rushed, I didn't feel hurried, and it didn't add to the anxiety of going into a new school or into a new classroom or reconnecting with friends, right? We have the opportunity as parents to change the conditions, change the atmosphere, impact the experiences that our children have. And I can tell you that the more we show up and we show them how to prepare, we engage them in the process, we allow them to have levels of responsibility that is in alignment with their growth and stages of development, that we walk them through it so that they can understand what has to get done. We help them practice, right? We walk alongside them and we give instructions as they're learning these new routines, right? We make sure that the clothes are laid out so they're not searching in their closet. We even make sure we have bonus clothes ready because accidents do happen, right? We think about that we're not rushing so that we ensure that they spend time having a nutritious breakfast. And we are able to sit down with them and even have a time of morning affirmations where we're encouraging them, we're affirming them, we're getting them excited and positioning their minds and their thought for the attitude that they're bringing into the classroom. We have the opportunity to create that atmosphere, because the counter to that, when we are rushed and we are yelling and we are fussing and there's not order and there's chaos and we are rushing out the house and angry at traffic because traffic is not moving fast enough, because we are running late, because what? We didn't plan, we didn't prepare, and we didn't account for the traffic and all the other variables that would be going on in the place called going back to school. So I am asking each and every one of us as parents to step into this season of getting back to school, the back to school routine, to approach it differently this year with a different mindset and a different attitude. You know, I share so often with you that my greatest joy, the greatest thing that I have done, one of the things that I take great pride in has been the opportunity to be a parent. I call it the greatest thing that I have gotten to do in my life. It is my greatest joy, the ability to influence and to grow another human being, that my behavior, my actions, my atmosphere that I've created is influencing their development. And you, me, us as parents, us as community, we have the opportunity to ensure that we create environments that our children are feeling confident. They're having a sense of peace. They have a sense of safety and trust because of the way in which we show up daily. Because I can tell you, when we are angry and frustrated, when we, the adults, have an attitude and we show up in defense mode and we are not in control of our emotions, we are giving off a message to our children. And I want us to really think about that. It is not the message that we really want to convey. We want to convey a message that we have self-control, that we know how to plan and prepare, that we understand the power of transition and change, and we know how to move with changing times and changing seasons We know how to recalibrate our minds around what's needed in certain spaces and time. We know how to create joy. And I would love to see us operate from a place of increased joy, increased peace, and spreading more love and encouragement with our children. That is the atmosphere I would like us to create as we step into this new year, this new school year. You know, there's all the talk about the anxiety that our children are experiencing, and that our children have greater levels of anxiety than we've ever seen before. And I'm just going to say to us as parents, while there's a lot of variables we can't control because they're out of our scope, there is so much that we can. And I'm just encouraging us to step back into the space of authority as a parent, as the adult, who has tools, resources, strategies. You are coming into this space more equipped and stepping in with a greater sense of confidence so that you can demonstrate to your children how to operate from a posture of confidence, peace, self-control, with the power of preparation and what that can mean and do for you and for them. Because I want us to collectively protect our peace. There's so many negative things going on in our environment. But we have the opportunity to reframe the narrative and ensure that we protect our peace. So as you're stepping into this new school year, I'm calling on you, our parents, our caregivers, the adults who are around and influencing the lives of children, to really think about the way you're showing up. I know for me, there are times that I'm driving and I'm going places, and I can remember the times that I didn't show up well. And my daughter is in the back seat, and she's seeing me stressed and fussing with the cars and talking about the drivers and how things are going. And I am on 10 in terms of my stress and my frustration. And in those moments, I was showing her a behavior that was not welcoming, that was not in a good light for how I'm supposed to be representing self-control, how I'm supposed to be representing patience, and how I'm supposed to be demonstrating peace, right? And so in hindsight, I know how it can be. I know how stressful it can be, especially when you are a single mother and you're trying to do it by yourself, especially when you are struggling and you don't have all the resources you may need to execute the thing called being that responsible parent and showing up. But there are things that are in our control, and I can control my attitude. I can control my energy, and I can infuse in my environment peace, joy, confidence, love, positive energy. I can infuse encouragement, and I can provide my children the opportunity to step back into their school routine with a greater sense of joy and excitement, not stress and frustration. I, as the adult, can help them do that. I am empowered to create the atmosphere that would allow them to experience peace, joy, love, confidence, patience, encouragement, and the attitude that looks forward to my daily routine call school. We can influence that, because I can tell you this: when we're on edge, when we haven't prepared, when our homes are chaotic, when our life has disorder, when we are angry and tense and we have an attitude, how that spills over to our children influences their behavior when they step into the classroom. And so I'm encouraging each and every one of us that we help our kids step into the classroom, step into this new year with a greater sense of skill set, because they've been watching us. We have been the walking demonstration of how it is to prepare, position ourselves to enter into a new season, to transition to that new environment, to walk in and step in with confidence, to be able to harness our joy, to develop a sense of affirmed belief and posture. We can do that. And so as you step into this new school year, we're going to spend some time really harnessing some skills that will allow us to transform our environment, to change our morning routines, to better prepare and position ourselves and our children for an awesome school year, because we have practiced the art of our posture, our preparation, positioning our children for success, and empowering them with tools and strategies on how to navigate the changes in life, because they are watching us as living examples by how we do it. So, Slow It Down Sundays, we are slowing down so that we can recalibrate and reposition ourselves, prepare for the week ahead, so that we can embrace what a successful school year can look like for you and your children. Thank you for joining me today on Slow It Down Sunday. It is such a pleasure, and I thank you for taking the time out for yourself, for your family, and for your children. As we embrace the possibilities of a new school year, let's continue to gain the skill sets we need to thrive and not just survive. See you next Sunday on Slow It Down Sundays.